We are tonight's entertainment.
You can't handle the truth.
The fire rises.
Pizza time.
You're a wizard, Harry.
So it begins.
You know how much I sacrifice?
You think that's air you're breathing?
Groovy.
I don't have friends. I got family.
We are Saxophone! 1, 2, 3, 4!
Craft Services.
Hey, Trent.
Hello, Parth.
It's funny seeing you here.
Likewise. It seemed like just a minute ago we were doing funny, unrelated bits and not recording. But now here we are.
I wouldn't know about any of that, but I would want to know about what you've been eating most recently, you know?
To be technical about it, I just had half of a wrap, a cheesesteak wrap with lettuce, tomatoes, some spicy peppers, and some onion, I believe. Got it from Crispy Pizza, which is like barely even my third favorite pizza place in New Brunswick.
Yeah, you're not really a crispy guy.
No. So I've been fantasizing about Jersey Mike's all day. And my big plan, I didn't want to buy it before. I had a class in Voorhees Hall, which is right by Jersey Mike's, right by the yard where both of these businesses are. And so I didn't think that I should buy the sandwich before class and then eat some of it like just in a desolate classroom, like watching a YouTube video on my phone. And so I made these big plans to get it after. And so my class ended at 8:50 and Jersey Mike's ended at 9. And so the whole class, I was trying to order it through their online ordering system on my laptop. And it seems like I tried to place the order at 8:29 because I thought that they would stop accepting online orders after that. But even by that point, it was too late. And so then I had to search for a plan B. And you know the rest. What about you?
Trent, I think you're going to like what I have to say about what I've been eating.
Sure.
So I had class today from 2 to 5, and then I had office hours from 5:30 to 6. But I'd gone grocery shopping earlier in the day with my cousin who works at Target, and so I got some nice employee discounts.
What is the employee discount, if you don't mind my asking?
It's 10% off, and then she also had access to some deals. So, like, I had 20% off all frozen items.
I like deals.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And our fridge, you haven't been by the apartment in a while, but it was running low. It was kind of abominable. And
like the snowman.
I bought chicken breasts and then went to class and was thinking about these chicken breasts and what I was going to do with them. And then I realized I remembered my dad's pulled chicken recipe. You saute some onions, some garlic, add some oil, put in the chicken, sear it for a bit, put in some barbecue sauce, and then you put it in the oven for 90 minutes and just let it slow cook. And then you take it out of the oven and you just like shred it with 2 forks.
Yeah.
And you want to know what this pulled chicken went into?
Was it a pulled chicken sandwich? That's what I would do. Oh.
No, Trent. Though there is a lot left over.
Pulled chicken smoothie?
Close.
Yeah.
They went into Parth's famous nachos.
Really?
Yes.
Whoa, that sounds like it's bringing your famous nachos to a new level of notoriety.
Trent, if you could be here tonight, you
would have been more so famous. Happy. You would have been more famous than ever.
Yeah. The ironicism surrounding Parth's famous nachos would diminish so rapidly.
You are also famous for your wings. And speaking of, known for podcasting. And
I am known for podcasting.
Friendship.
Sometimes. I'm known for bringing us to the intro. Is that not?
Known for your transitions. That's what will be on your headstone.
So how about we just cue the intro?
That actually wouldn't be a bad headstone because it'd be like you had a seamless transition into the afterlife. Parth Marathe, known for his transitions.
That's not bad, yeah.
There are worse things to be called.
Would you say that at my eulogy?
Oh, I won't be attending your funeral. I'm super duper busy that
You'll be
day.
dead or okay.
Super duper busy. Super busy.
Would you
Schedules
if you
jam-packed.
found out I died, like not
Jam-packed.
now, but like of old age, and I was like you were like 92, I was 91. So that sweet spot between January and April 28th. Would you cry? Would you shed a tear?
Why wouldn't I?
I don't know.
It depends how much contact we remain in over the next 70 years. I think
that's
is worth
cool.
considering.
That's cool.
But I think there's a good chance of me crying if you died a week from now.
A good chance. That's a good chance.
Good chance.
Trent, I would sob if I found out that you died. Not
Yeah, and there's
the
and
reasons
there's,
for which is not solely because of craft services.
and there's a good chance that I would cry if I found out that something had happened to you. No guarantee.
Wow. I think I'm going to keep that in the intro. Just to let the people know who you really are.
Welcome back to Craft Services.
Wow.
a
Okay, so usurping my position. That's cool.
A podcast where we talk about the movies. Each week we talk about a film and hopefully have a crew member of that film to talk with us about their experience working on the picture. This week we had a special guest named, they're a man of many names.
Yes.
Disasterpeace and Rich Vreeland.
Rich Vreeland. Yeah.
Yep. Parth, you were there also. Did you like the interview? Did you hate it?
Oh, Trent. You'll
Boy,
be
did I-
disappointed to know.
Yeah.
I loved this interview.
Yeah, me too.
So maybe you're not disappointed at all. But this is our first composer.
Yep.
And I think it went really well, Trent.
Yes, we're finally welcoming the sound side of things. And
Yes.
Soon Parth and I will be the creepy sound guy on set.
Yes,
There's always
the famous creepy sound guy.
Or you can be the flirty grip and I'll be the creepy sound guy.
I think that fits our vibes,
Yeah.
I'm just constantly flirting around,
But Rich
talking to all the
Vreeland,
ladies and boys.
Rich Vreeland is too busy composing really good scores for some movies like Bodies, 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 our film of the week. Then we got Under the Silver Lake, Marcel the Shell, and It Follows, which all have really good scores.
Yeah, and he talks about all of them. And
All of them.
I think, do we just cut into this?
Yeah, I think we've said enough. Let's let past Trent and Parth take it away from current Trent.
Yeah,
and
this is
Parth.
from like 2 months ago or something. Crazy.
So backloaded. Who knows? So prepared.
Yeah. All right, enjoy this interview, guys. Cue the interview. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our interview with Rich Vreeland. Goes by Disasterpeace. He's the composer behind such films as It Follows, Under the Silver Lake, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, and our film for today, Helena Rain's Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, happy to be here.
So just to start off, what would you say your relationship with film was at a young age?
I would say I always liked going to the movies, but I was always more interested in video games and computers than film. My kind of career trajectory reflects that because I, after a cup of coffee doing graphic design, I decided to switch to music and kind of integrated that passion with my interest in video games and got into doing video game soundtracks and did that for probably 8 years before, maybe 7 years before I ended up working on It Follows, which is my first film project.
Where do you even begin in the world of getting started in like doing video game soundtracks? How do you break into that?
For me, I broke into it in a very kind of roundabout way, where there was a wanted ad on a message board. It was actually for this hobby I had as a teenager called e-wrestling, which is like you write wrestling fiction basically, and you compete against each other. It's pretty fun. But I used to post my music there. that's kind of how I got my first video game job, because there was a wanted ad on one of these message boards for a company that was making cell phone games, and this was like 2005 maybe. So it was before smartphones, so I had to do everything with MIDI files, like music and sound effects. So it was like it was very strange, but I got paid, and I was like, wow, this is cool. I would love to do this like for a living. So after that experience, I started looking into like, how do I do that? And I started finding communities of people who work on games. When I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston, and there was a group there called the Video Game Music Club, which I joined and met a lot of like-minded individuals who were interested in this stuff. And so would hear about, events and things going on, and internships, which I did 2 game audio internships at college, and started going to conferences. And I just started like meeting people kind of organically by putting myself out there, going to events, playing shows, releasing music online, all that sort of stuff.
And so was it off the back of your video game work that were you approached to do It Follows, or did you want to go kind of in a film route?
I was always open to it, but it wasn't really my focus. And it wasn't until David Mitchell, I guess, played Fez, this game that I scored, and really liked the soundtrack to that he reached out to me about It Follows. And so, I have him to thank for, a lot of my career in film, because, that project catapulted me into other opportunities after that.
Yeah, and since then, you've worked on some really cool movies, and we were just listening to it before and talking about who we think you sound like, and we were wondering what film scorers, composers you think you may take influence from, if any, or what neck of the woods musically you come from, or, relate to.
I would say that I kind of have a signature kind of thing that I do that I couldn't really describe to you, but I definitely have like a sound. But I pull my influences from everywhere. So, and I've always enjoyed being a little bit of a chameleon, like just writing in different styles. So my tastes are very kind of all over the place. Film composer wise, there's definitely like a short list of people that I really like. People like Bernard Herrmann, love a good John Williams score, like anybody. More like modern composers, I really like Johnny Greenwood's work. I really like Mika Levy's work, Morricone. I love Morricone. So yeah, those are just some, but like I came to film music late. I was mostly interested in like popular music. I grew up, around the Beatles and Vince Guaraldi from
the Peanuts,
Charlie Brown Christmas.
Yeah.
And then, my parents were into classic rock and folk and stuff. So I picked up that kind of stuff from them, whether it was like Queen, Led Zeppelin, or Joni Mitchell. High school, I got really into playing guitar, and I got really into Tool and Rage Against the Machine. And then I kind of graduated to prog rock and got really into King Crimson, metal, and got really into Mastodon. And then, had a jazz moment, got really into Impressionism. And, not to mention video game music was always a really big inspiration for me too, which in itself is kind of a hodgepodge of other influences. It's kind of like, a lot of like classic video game music is very much melting pot music. It's like world styles, like just combined.
Were there any particular video games that you can point to that you're like, I liked the music in that, and that really got me going?
Yeah, I think I came back around to a lot of that music. Like it was something that playing those games as a kid, I maybe didn't think about the music so much, but when I started getting interested in music and writing it, that's when I kind of revisited it and realized how much of an impact it had on me. Composers like Yasunori Mitsuda, who did Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross, combined lots of different world styles in really interesting ways. But the big one is definitely Koji Kondo, who also, hold lots of influences, from jazz and fusion and rock and other styles. and that music, so much of that music, especially the music that was more limited in capacity, like more limited in what kind of sounds you could use and stuff, really required like an elevated level of kind of focus on composition. And I think I kind of gravitated towards that, especially in the beginning when I didn't really know how to produce music really that well. I could just focus on using a couple of instruments to write music. And that's kind of how I got my start.
So, speaking about our film of the week this week, Bodies, 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 how did you become involved with that project?
I'm not entirely sure. I think, I had a meeting with Lena. I'm not sure how I got on their radar, but I had a meeting with Lena, and we had a really nice kind of chemistry for like, it seemed like it would be a good working scenario for us to work together. It was kind of a time where I was kind of traveling and I wasn't really working. So it kind of didn't really go anywhere. And I think they actually went with somebody else and it didn't work out. And then they came back to me. And then we started working together and did this. The rest is history. We did the score in probably, I don't know, maybe 3 months or something like that.
So when you first meet a director to talk about if you're potentially going to collaborate, like what sort of materials do they show to like get your vibe on what you would want to do,
It depends. I mean, sometimes they'll present like especially if it's like animated or something like that, they probably present a lot of artwork to get a sense of the sort of the world of the film. With something live action, it's generally, they'll send materials either before or after the meeting. They'll send a script, they might send a lookbook, things like that, just to kind of like help me kind of get a sense of what the project is going to be. Sometimes the meeting is just like, is it a good fit? Like, do we seem like we would work well together? We might talk about logistics, like timing, and is the timing going to be, is the timing good? Or it could just be a feeler too, like just kind of touching base and seeing.
And so you said that they went with someone else and then they came back around to you. So what was the movie done when you were scoring it? And I guess like how long? I think you said you worked on it for 3 or 4 months, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, the movie's never done until until it comes out. There's always things happening, but it was shot and they were in post-production, and it was fairly far along, but like any project, there's this kind of curve where, as you get closer to the end, the amount of progress you make gets smaller and smaller, and it becomes more and more intense, kind of focusing on smaller details. So they were kind of getting into that stage where, they were kind of adjusting things, pulling little things out, adding things, just kind of playing with, the presentation of the film. And music is obviously a really big part of that.
And was it similar to the other projects that you've been a part of time-wise, like in terms of how long you were spending on it?
So It Follows was shorter. Marcel the Shell was much longer, and so was Under the Silver Lake. They were both year plus, on and off. The other movie that I did that was similar timeline was this movie Triple Frontier for Netflix. That was also like a couple of months. But this film was like not a whole lot of music. But I mean, I did write a lot of music in trying to get the right sound. And sometimes on a project, that's not the case. Like It Follows, there were very few cues that didn't end up in the movie. I think I had to rewrite like 2 or 3 things. So there's not a lot of like extra material. But on a movie like Marcel the Shell or Bodies, 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 we're talking about like 2x, 3x the amount of, music is what I wrote compared to what's in the film. And that's just because of the circumstances and, what people are looking for, maybe how comfortable I am, or how hard how challenging it is to find the right sound, or all those sort of things.
So generally speaking, when you're writing, are you watching the film over and over again and writing in chronological order, or just focusing on key scenes, or doing whatever jumps out at you first and then filling in the gaps, or is it all different?
It's a great question. I think there's not necessarily one right way to do it. I have often approached it chronologically. I've been guilty of not watching the film enough. I think watching the film is actually really important, especially as you put music into it, to help you like feel out the choices that you're making, and that they're all like contextually working together. Because you could score a scene, and as a standalone scene, it could work really well, but it might not work in the larger context. Yeah, my tendency has been to start from the beginning, and try to figure it out that way. Sometimes my tendency has been to have like a high concept about what to do, and kind of identify like, here are key moments in the film, and like key moments where things are going to change, and maybe the sound world has to change also. And so I might preload, I might like I might like basically work on those scenes first, even though they're out of order or whatever.
Do you ever write a song that like makes sense for the film, but you don't actually know where it's gonna go yet, and then it's just as in it wasn't written for a specific scene, and then you're just trying to slot in where you think it makes the most sense, or is everything directly inspired by a scene?
Yeah, I mean, those are two very like common and distinctive styles of writing for film. There are definitely projects where you might be asked to write music blind, or maybe it's a part of the process that you've come up with, which is to write a bunch of music up front, just inspired by the movie, not thinking about particular scenes, or maybe you are, but you're not looking at picture. And then either you're figuring it out afterwards, or the editing team is like playing with it and trying to figure it out, or it just doesn't make it into the film, or you get lucky and it fits something perfectly. Those are all possibilities. It's an interesting way to work, and it can be, it like people like Johnny Greenwood do that to great effect. I haven't really had the opportunity to do that. It's a lot of work to write a bunch of music up front, because basically what you're doing is creating a library of music and then handing it over to kind of like try to figure out where to place all of it. And so if you're going purely for bang for your buck, sometimes writing music directly to the picture is going to be a little bit more efficient, even though it has certain, there are certain limitations to working that way also.
So working on Bodies, what were the instruments and like software that you were like using to put it all together and make the music? Because it's like kind of like an electronic score. It's like a very particular sound.
Yeah, so I have been using Logic Pro for a long time. So I do all my scoring in Logic Pro. Yeah, the sound of Bodies it's a lot of really basic synth sounds, drum synths, bass, like bass style synths, and certain kinds of effects that create certain kinds of like kind of distortions and like frequency effects. So it's a lot of those kind of three things. And there's this sort of, there's this effect that basically it makes things sound lossy, like a bad MP3 file. And that's another big component of the sound of the film. And it's an effect that I've had for a long time, and I've never really found a way to use it. So this was kind of the first time. And that was kind of a fun like element. So yeah, and it was like, I was definitely trying to channel like contemporary music, like sort of the trap inspired stuff that you hear a lot of these days. And as someone who's like not particularly interested in that music, it was kind of fun to like try to find something interesting in it. So that was part of the allure for me, I think, as like a composer.
I heard in an interview with the director that you guys talked about TikTok sounds, and that being an influence on it, and I just thought that was interesting, and I was wondering how strongly you were even like were you guys like on TikTok and like cataloging sounds, or like how is that?
She might have been. I wasn't. I mean, my process is that when I'm occupying a stylistic space, if I have a blurry kind of quasi ignorant idea of what something is, Like I've generally leaned into that because it's music and you can get away with it, and it kind of gives it like an interesting and almost impressionistic feel. And that's what I did on It Follows. That's what I did on Under the Silver Lake, and that's what I did here, which is like I'm inhabiting a new genre that I haven't really explored before, and kind of allowing it to be wrong, or just allowing it to be what it's going to be, and not being like overly precious about making it very much like, oh, this is what people do and this is how they do it. It's sort of just like, oh, I've heard this kind of music before, so I kind of have like a general sense of it, and just kind of like taking that idea and like trying to just keep digging down into that. But there's also some sort, there's some tracks like in the film that are sort of a similar ilk, and like those were a part of the kind of the inspiration like palette for me as well.
Yeah, I was kind of just gonna ask exactly that. Is if like if you're working on a film that also has like non-score songs, is that being worked into the equation of how your score is going to work, like bounce off of those things?
For me it is. I care a lot about the entire soundtrack and like how it all works together. I mean, there are definitely times where there's some source music in the film that it's challenging because it's kind of maybe it's clashing, or maybe it gets changed, and I had written some score to kind of like segue into it in a very particular way, and now it's not working so well. There have been times that I've really pushed to pull out score, because I thought that source material, like source music, would work better. And that's actually what happened on Bodies too. We had been workshopping music, like a piece of score for the very beginning of the film when they pull up to the mansion. And we tried a lot of different stuff, and it just never felt quite right. It always felt kind of disjointed and detached from the film. And I was just playing with the edit, and basically tried taking the song that they're listening to in the car and just pulling and just like extending it through that whole section. And that ended up being the thing that really like solved it and like made it feel more intentional, and not like kind of this mishmash of, oh, we got to have music here, we have to underline character themes, we have to like do all these things. It felt very like ham-fisted.
So Trent and I were both listening to the score before we showed up to the interview. We were both like, first of all, this is very good, so just a compliment there. But also in the first track, it's like Body Drop, I think. Yeah. And the soundtrack, there's like a motif that happens throughout the film of like a percussive,
that thing.
And I was wondering, were you trying to come up with a motif that would like be pervasive throughout the entire film, or did that sort of come naturally?
It's actually an element that I discovered like maybe 3/4 of the way into the process. Like it wasn't a thing, and then I added it. It was actually based on the rhythm of the theme for the B character, which is similar. It's like do do do, and I basically took that idea and I wanted to create another element that was percussive. And once I came up with that element, it was sort of like unlocked something for me where I felt like here's a connective tissue that I can use like throughout the score. That's simple and kind of like, I don't know how to explain that sound. It's kind of strange.
It's like stressful a little bit. Like I felt like it worked very well. It's like a
stressful clave.
Yeah, it's like needling kind of at your ear a little bit, which I think it's very effective, I guess.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, we had one on It Follows too, and this movie was kind of like horror kitsch. Like it was supposed to be sort of like almost like a deconstruction of horror, like because it's kind of campy and it's kind of a joke, and so that was like something that we wanted to try to figure out, and it was actually the source of most of the challenge, I think, for the score, was like figuring out how to basically write a horror score without it being like overtly, like leaning into tropes, basically.
So this is obviously nothing new for you because you've been releasing music in different forms for a long time, but like the track listings and the track names, how much I don't want. How much thought are you putting in? Just because I looked at it, and some of them are characters' names, and some of them are just funny words, and some of them are a little bit more poetic. And I just thought it was an interesting blend, and I was wondering if that's all you, or if there's any influence from other people to make it like relevant to the story, or if you could name it whatever the hell you wanted. Or if you're just naming it as you go, like B theme, and then you just leave it the way that it originated in your mind.
Yeah, it's a very intuitive process. It's something that I kind of have always taken the reins over, and have found to be fun to work out. The track listing, like the track ordering and how the tracks flow into each other, it's a really important aspect of a soundtrack for me. I usually spend like quite a lot of time figuring out how the tracks all blend together, and making sure that they flow into each other nicely, and it's a good listening experience, and it's not just like an arbitrary list of tracks. And then naming is usually these tracks, they have some sort of like working title. Sometimes they're actually multiple cues from the film that I've put together because I thought that they fit. There's quite a lot of that actually in the soundtrack, because there's a lot of versions of things that aren't in the film that are on the score. Because sometimes you write something that you think that's really cool, and it just doesn't make it into the movie. So the standalone soundtrack is really the opportunity to kind of like flex a lot of that stuff. I would say Body Drop is just the name I came up with when I first was like writing for that scene in the film where people start dying and they're running in the rain and all that. And it just kind of stuck. It just felt right. Jealousy into Light was another one that I was just because it was kind of based on conversations that I had with Helena about what the scene meant. Basically when like at the end of the film, when Sophie and B are like in the basement, and B just tries to run away from Sophie because she's kind of toxic. And then like, basically this idea of like basically escaping this sort of like hellhole. And that's kind of where the Jealousy into Light thing came. And then sometimes I just have fun. Like Light into Jealousy it's just like an outtake from Jealousy into Light, where I went too far. Like I was just, oh, this is really fun, I'm gonna like do a bunch of counterpoint. And then I sent it to them and they're like, what? We don't understand. I was like, okay, I'll save that for myself. And then, three version, like doing things with the name three times was just kind of a play on the name of the movie. So yeah, it's a blend.
Trent, do you mind if I move into non-bodies questions?
Yeah, you do your Parth.
Thanks, Trent. So we've mentioned It Follows a little bit, and I was just wondering what that experience was like, because it's a very beloved movie.
And your first movie?
Yeah, my first movie.
It's like, what an experience.
Yeah, it was a cool experience. It happened very quickly. We were supposed to have quite a while to work on it. I think 3 months. We initially talked about a hybrid score with live instruments and synths, and then the plans kind of changed, and we were shooting for Cannes for the film festival. And so we suddenly had under a month to do it. And so it was sort of a breakneck pace. Like I was writing every day of the week. Like I was working 12 plus hours on it, and wrote the whole score in about 3.5 weeks. So it came together really fast.
I'm sure you can operate well under that amount of pressure, like you just said. But like do you think you like do your best work when there's a due date, like, and it's coming up, or would you have preferred to have like unlimited time, or not unlimited, but like, do you work best under pressure, or like would you have preferred to? Yeah,
it's tricky because I would always prefer to have more time, but there's just something about having kind of a limited time frame where you have to work on this thing, where I can get really deep into the zone, where I'm just completely consumed by a project, and I'm just thinking about it all the time. It's not great for your life, but it's good. I mean, it can be good for the project if you can do it in a way that isn't stressing you out. and that's the hard part. So yeah, my preference has always been to work basically like halftime. Like if I can work halftime every day, I'm happy, and I'm like being productive and I'm getting stuff done, and it still feels like I'm making good choices. It's not always possible, but that's sort of my aspiration.
So you mentioned working on Under the Silver Lake and Marcel the Shelf both for like about a year each, or you were working on them. So is that
Over
like
a year. Yeah.
every day you're grinding and you're like, what's the music for this fucking shell? Or like, is that
No.
like on and off? You're kind of like going away and coming back to it.
Yeah, they're on and off, but I mean, Under the Silver Lake was more intense. It was sort of like, it was like a month of solid work, just kind of putting together Turning Teeth, the sort of the song of the film. Like writing that song took a while, and then it was kind of off for a while, and then started writing music in like the spring maybe, and by the summer I was working full time on it, like pretty much 7 days a week, and that continued probably for, I don't know, 5 months, 6 months, something like that. And then Marcel the Shell was like an even longer process because I started working on it in 2019, and then with the pandemic, like things got pushed back on the production schedule, and so it was sort of like it took, that one took a year and a half, I guess, to finish, but it was much more spotty. Yeah.
We were talking about like I mean, it's hard to tie down your style, and we don't want to, but there's definitely like an electronic side of things. And then I was listening to Under the Silver Lake, which I didn't know you did the score for, but it's fucking awesome. And I think, and I don't know anything about music, but I think that's a little bit more like stringy. And then Marcel the Shell is like kind of both of those elements at the same time. And I just wanted to know, to think out loud, and like, am I crazy?
No, that's interesting though. I hadn't thought of it that way, like that Marcel is kind of a blend, but yeah, like I mean, synth is kind of my background. I mean, I went to school for synthesis, so I got an education in how to do that, which really helped me kind of, hone those tools. I was also learning how to do production, so I got into kind of like the like more traditional sounds, but I've generally preferred to do everything myself, as opposed to like working with a bunch of musicians. But, there have been opportunities, really cool opportunities to do that. Like Under the Silver Lake, where I got to record for a 50-piece orchestra, and I got to arrange all those, write and arrange all those pieces. That was quite a learning experience for me. It's not something that I would normally do, and it's really, really hard. It's really hard for me because, I don't have the background for it. So everything just takes much longer. Marcel is all like, it's all synthetic, even though it kind of has more of a stringy sound, like you said. But like Under the Silver Lake was, strings, brass, like woodwinds, like just, all sorts of orchestral instruments.
And when you're working with a 50-piece orchestra like that, is it like when you see in movies where like they have a screen and they're watching it and they're playing over it? Or like, are you in the room while that's happening, or are you just like sending them sheet music and then receiving what they send back?
If you're lucky, you get to go to a session and you get to interact with the musicians and you get to be in the room while they record it. And, just to get to that point, it takes quite a lot of steps. I mean, you need to hire all the musicians, you need a conductor, you need, recording engineers. Like it's quite a lot of stuff. So I've always had a team of people to kind of help me facilitate that side of things, which is not, because it's not my forte. There are, in lower budget scenarios, there are situations where people will record remotely with live players, via some sort of like, I don't know, maybe they use Zoom now, but they use like satellite links and all this kind of stuff to like basically phone in or whatever and listen to takes as they're being played and recorded. But yeah, I think the best is to be there in person. It's so fun and like inspiring to just hear people play your music like that. It's really cool.
And I guess one last other thing that you worked on your IMDb, it shows that you worked on one episode of Adventure Time.
Yeah.
That's a cool show. Was it cool to work on?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. The animation director of Marcel the Shell was the director of that episode, Kirsten Lepore, who also, I believe, did the Groot miniseries for Disney
Plus.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a really fun project. I kind of had free reign to do what I thought would be fun. And so I love the show. So I just tried to be inspired by that and make something really quirky and eclectic. And I asked a bunch of people to send me samples. And I made the entire score out of other people's samples. And that was my prompt, my creative prompt that I gave myself.
Are there like kinds of movies that you would like to write for, or is it kind of just like you'd like to be approached by interesting people and then kind of just tag along to their projects? Like, would you want to,
yeah,
like a John Wick comes along and they're like, write for us? Like, is like an action movie, or is it just like, I'd want to work with this director?
Well, I did an action movie and it wasn't my favorite. So I don't know if I would do another one, even though I like watching action movies. Working on them is different. I think generally it's kind of what you said. It's like interesting people, interesting projects. Ideally, it's something that's different than what I normally do. If it's too similar, like I feel like it's a waste of time, because I'm not really having the opportunity to kind of push my boundaries and kind of try something different. So, all of that is a component. I want to work on things that I think are good. I don't want to work. That's important. At this stage of my career, like financial success is less important because I've been at it for a long time, and I'm kind of, I'm pretty much comfortable at this point. So that's good. So I can really just kind of hone in on what I think is cool. And, yeah. And I like to work on things that I feel like have a good sort of like, maybe not a message per se, but like they have a good heart. Like, at the core of it, there's something good there. Sometimes movies, especially horror movies, I don't always find that. Sometimes they feel kind of vapid. So it's, I want to feel like connected to what I'm working on. That's important to me.
This is just a quick question before the last question, because we're quickly approaching the Big Kahuna question, the Big Kahuna final question. But just due to the nature of video games, which you said was where you got your starts, and just since it's like not a controlled experience, and that someone can like just like walk around endlessly, and like the music must be cued by something of like if you're just in this certain world, or if you do this thing, or if it's this cutscene. Right. And does that change how you approach it at all, or was doing movies and video games like do you not think about it in a different way because of like the I don't know, the medium, or I guess like the nature of it?
I mean, I think about it very differently. There are moments in games that are very similar to moments in a TV show or a movie because they're linear and they're generally going to be experienced one way. But even so, even in a game, you have the opportunity to score the same linear cutscene like different way every time if you really wanted to. Like you technologically, you have that choice, whereas in a film you don't. So you have this really broad possibility space in games to play with the way that music is experienced, and it can be very fulfilling and exciting, but it can also be overwhelming to have that many choices. And so my kind of journey in working on games has been, a lot of it has been trying to find like where that balance is between not having such a broad possibility space where it's just like crazy amounts of variety that's like overwhelming to work on, overwhelming to understand and test. But at the same time, like there's so much potential there for creating a really special experience. And people listen to music in a game far more than they listen to music in a movie. So the listener, like just the amount of music, the amount of time that is spent listening to that music is so much more. You have to think about that when you're actually designing the music for the game, because you don't want people to get fatigued by the music, because that's the worst thing. And then people will just turn the music off, which is very common. So there's a whole different set of like considerations in music. And I've worked on games where I created the music for them, and I didn't write any music. It was all generated just by coming up with like a system using coding. And like that's a possibility that you can do in a game. So it opens up a lot of those sort of things.
Awesome. Trent, is it Big Kahuna final question time?
It's Big Kahuna final question time.
Okay.
So the final question is just, what's the last great film you watched? And it can be a rewatch or a new release.
The last great film.
We can open it up to TV if it.
I just can't think of anything. I've been, my girlfriend and I have been going through Naruto and Boruto, because she grew up watching that, and I'd never seen it before. So for quite a while now, we've been slogging through like 1,000 episodes of anime. But I like it, so
We'll accept that. People like Naruto.
okay.
I just have one quick final question. Is movies what you want to do, like for the remainder of your? I don't want to say for the remainder of your career. I know you're doing TV and video games and stuff, but you've become a force to be reckoned with in the movie composing world. And do you just want to keep doing this, or are you looking for the next thing, or what?
Yeah. I mean, movies aren't really my focus. I think I've just been fortunate to work on some movies that have been successful. Movies, I find movies really stressful to work on. So I try not to work on too many, but certainly, if something comes along, like I definitely consider working on it. And I'm sure that I will continue to work on movies for a really long time. But like right now, most of the time I've spent over the last year has been working on a game, this indie game called Paradise Marsh. And like in the future, I want to focus on releasing music, because I have a lot of music that I haven't released, and I also have a bunch of music software that I want to put out. So I'm just generally interested in making stuff. Like it doesn't have to be a score, although I do like doing that. So yeah, I'm just like, I'm more broadly interested in just creating.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Rich Vreeland, also known as Disasterpeace, for coming on for this interview. You can listen to some of his music in movies such as It Follows, Under the Silver Lake, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, and Helena Rain's Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, thank you both. Appreciate it.
Wow, Trent, what an interview.
What an interview.
Really great
boy, oh
guy.
boy.
Really
Cool
nice
guy,
to us.
Great
and we're
composer.
We're
Nice to
happy he
us.
took the time
The
to talk
triple
to
threat.
us.
Yep.
But Trent, you teed me up for a conversation topic about another interview.
Yes. In this case, we were the interviewees instead of the interviewers.
You guys didn't hear this, but Trent was like, notice anything, Parth? And I was like, what? And he was like, anything interesting? And I was like, what?
About my appearance?
And I was like, what? And this kind of kept happening until Trent said, I've got my goose shirt on.
Yes.
And the backstory behind this is that we, Trent and I, were invited to go on to a Rutgers-affiliated podcast entitled what, Trent?
Conversations with Creatives, hosted by fellow Rutgers film students like us, Sam Fankel and Andrew Alexander. And we went to their fancy studio for their Halloween episode and their season finale. Fun fact.
That's why we were dressed as Maverick and Goose.
Pete Maverick Mitchell.
Pete Maverick Mitchell and Goose.
What's his rank?
Or Rooster, who is Bradley Bradshaw. So,
what is Maverick's rank?
In Top Gun or Maverick?
Both.
I don't remember in Top Gun, but in Maverick, he's a captain.
Mm.
They make a joke about it.
Pete Maverick.
Captain Pete Mitchell.
But their podcast is unlike ours for several reasons.
Yes. One of which
as
is
we
that
we learned the hard way.
Yes. Well, we were not prepped for, let's say, what tier of language was allowed on the podcast, and Trent and I
think if they'd listened to our show, they would have known how down in the dumps we like to get, conversationally speaking.
And creatively speaking. Conversation with creatives, you know? But we made some curse words.
We referenced cocaine.
More cursing?
No more cuss words! It's violent and dangerous. On their show, we received kind of a stern look from their adult producer woman when we entered the studio after our long 40-minute recording into I believe what will end up being a 25-minute episode. And so maybe they'll have some space to cut out all of our curse words and drug and sexual references. And also, I asked you to do a karate kick mid-episode, and you improvised, but the episode is worth visiting for those reasons alone. And there will be visual components, 3 camera angles, yes. I believe. So if you want to see Parth and I in the flesh, this could be a good opportunity.
Yes, because you have no other opportunities otherwise, unfortunately.
No. We're just ones and zeros to you guys.
That's coming out, I believe, Halloween. And you know what else is coming out Halloween?
Our bodies discussion.
It's coming out next week, guys. Better get excited for that.
Oh, and when I hummed the first few notes of Danger Zone on their show, they scoffed at me because of trademark reasons that they worry about. Because if you think about it, Rutgers as a company could probably get sued, but we have nothing for who's the artist behind Danger Zone?
Kenny Loggins.
Yeah, I don't think the Kenny Loggins estate is gonna come to us and ask for compensation.
But in terms of people coming to us, I think that the listeners should come to our social media platforms. Give them a follow. Go to our podcast on any podcast hosting site, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcasts. I think our listeners should come there and give us a good rating and review.
That would be nice.
Wherever possible.
Appreciated.
And they should come check out our Bodies discussion next week, a film that, spoiler, both Trent and I like.
Yeah, no, huge spoiler. Parth and I both like it.
Did I say Parth or Trent?
I don't know, but at this, everyone else gets them confused, so we might as well.
Yeah.
Parth, do you know how the last episode ended?
No.
Remember the sneeze you did earlier in the episode, and you told me to
did you make an edit of it?
Well, I did a huge edit of it, several of them in different speeds. And all of them stacked, and then at the end, Danger Zone fades out, and then it just achoo!
Nice.
Yes.
I like that.
So that's just a fun little Easter egg at the end of our Nope discussion for any curious party. You can hear Parth sneeze.
Speaking of ends, next week is the end of our 2022 Spooktacular.
Wow. Halloween is ending, both literally and figuratively, if you think about recent movies that have been released.
Yes, and next week we will reveal our next mini-series.
Well, we've revealed it already, but we'll reveal...
Yeah.
We'll clarify.
We'll reveal... we have
specify.
Cruisapalooza coming up, but we will reveal
just what
that
exactly
actually
that
means.
entails, for you people.
For the humble listeners.
It means one thing for me and Parth, but it means a different thing entirely for you.
Yeah. But I think this recording has gone long enough. I think the people need to go about their day, get a life, get a job, make money, go back to their families, you know?
Yeah, and with that, thank you for listening. Goodbye.
Bye, guys.